Hello everyone, this is Yoko. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, my native language is not English, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and support us. This time, I would like to talk about the assistance of disaster supplies by the first actress. Her actress name is Zhao Ying. She is an actress from Hubei, China. Recently, a typhoon landed in China, causing large-scale flood damage. Northern China is still facing a lot of trouble. When a town in China is flooded, muddy water flows, so even after the water recedes, it is not easy to return to normal life. It's a lot of work just to clean up the mud. Moreover, the distribution of daily necessities will be cut off. This time, the actress from Hubei province has become a hot topic because she directly sent relief supplies to the local area. The reason why it is attracting attention is that in China, when disaster relief is provided, donations are collected to charity organizations. And it's common for charities to buy supplies and help. However, with this system, there are cases where the collected money is taken by someone else, or relief supplies that are supposed to be distributed free of charge are diverted, and some people sell them to make a profit. Many people in China know that relief supplies will not reach the affected areas, so it is common knowledge that simply donating money to a charity will not reach the affected areas. He has been noted for buying relief supplies and transporting them to the disaster area by himself, without getting involved with charities, organizations or vendors that distribute relief supplies in the disaster area. There are some Chinese people who agree with this approach, but there are also those who have made profits from disasters so far, so there is an opinion that they may be resentful of those people. In China, there are people who make money when disaster strikes. If it becomes the norm for those who want to support the affected areas to deliver the supplies directly, the embezzlers are worried about reprisals because the benefits will be lost. By the way, charities have costs of running them, even if they are not intentionally embezzled. Sometimes we need more staff. We need money to pay their salaries and maintain the office. Even if you try to donate money through a charity, a large portion of it will go to the organization's operations. By the time the relief supplies reach the people who really need them, the total amount of money they initially raised has been significantly reduced. In the first place, it is natural that donations through organizations are costly, but in the case of China, there is even intentional embezzlement. Some stories are getting harder to get together. In the first place, charity organizations are based on the theory of good nature, so even if people who use the collected money without permission claim to be a charity organization, no one will be deceived. In the future, donations through organizations will decline in China. I think that people who really want to donate will procure relief supplies themselves and charter trucks to transport them to the affected areas. Of course, this is something only the rich can do, but in a country like China where there is a large disparity, I think the rich should appeal in the form of support at times like this. In countries with large disparities, it is common for the wealthy to provide support in the event of a disaster. There is a theory that celebrities make donations as an act of publicity. I think there are quite a few. So I don't think I'm doing it only for my own profit. By the way, this actress is from a farming village in Hubei province and seems to have experience working as a migrant worker at a factory. She thinks she has sympathy for the victims because when she was young she experienced the life of a commoner rather than a quick sell. I think she came up with this method when she thought about how to help the victims. This time, I would like to talk about another topic, the country garden. There are various ways to call it, such as reading it in Chinese, reading it in Japanese, and reading it in English. Today, we are the largest real estate developer in China. Stock prices have plummeted due to the inability to repay foreign currency-denominated debt. At one point, There was talk that Chinese stocks were soaring, and that stock prices were factoring in the Chinese economy. If you know the overall picture of the Chinese economy, you can see that there is almost no possibility that the Chinese economy will recover in the future. Even the information that reaches Japan is fragmentary, so people with a shallow understanding of the Chinese economy may have the impression that the Chinese economy is picking up. China's information includes information manipulation by the Chinese Communist Party. If I understand it correctly, I can only judge that the Chinese economy will get worse in the future. This company, Country Garden, is behind on interest payments. However, there is a grace period of 30 days after interest payments stop. In the meantime, we are at the limit of whether we can avoid the default. By the way, until now, companies in China that were about to default had borrowed money from other sources and used that money to repay their debts. However, it is now very difficult to borrow money. There is no chance of getting the money back even if you lend it, so you have no choice but to collect money at a high interest rate or sell the asset. I'm going to talk about how Country Garden raised funds last year. It was funded by J.P. Morgan Chase through a company founded by the president of Country Garden on December 11 of last year. When you say fundraising, you didn't borrow money, you raised funds by selling the shares of Country Garden. The president of Country Garden put money into the company in the form of an unsecured, interest-free loan to Country Garden. That was last December. The owner sold the shares and put the money into the company to raise funds. What kind of person is the president of Country Garden? Here's an article from March 1 of this year. The chairman of Country Garden has resigned because of his age. His successor was this man's daughter, a woman named Yang Huiyun. The president of Country Garden is Yang Huiyun, but it became a hot topic for donating a large amount of Country Garden stock to a charity. She donated a whopping 20% of Country Garden's stock to the charitable foundation. This is a strange move. Country Garden is said to be in default, and it is driven into a situation of cash shortage. If you are the person who will be the president, you know from a long time ago that the company is in danger. Nevertheless, I donated the portion of the economic benefits from the company's stock to the charitable foundation. The charitable foundation has announced that it will not dispose of its rights for 10 years. It means they can no longer afford to raise money by selling shares, as they did last December. Why did you make such a donation? I think only the person himself knows the real intention, but there are some guesses. Rather than donating the stock entirely to charity, we are transferring the financial benefits from the stock to the charity and retaining control over the company. Yang Huiyun's control over Country Gardens is unaffected. And the charitable organization that received donations is run by the sister of the former chairman of Country Garden. So I donate to a charity, but the donation is to an organization run by the owner's family. In this way, it seems that the family is just transferring profits. Why did you make a donation when you know that Country Garden will run out of cash? There are various explanations, but one speculation is that by eliminating the liquidity of the stock, Country Garden will appeal that there are other ways to secure cash. People who see you donating generously may think running a Country Garden is okay. However, right after the talk of donation came out, there was an article about the crisis of default, so I don't think anyone thinks that Country Garden's management is okay. But there are also stories to the contrary. It is a theory that the Country Garden has given up and is doing its own branding because it is giving up because it will not recover. It is speculated that he made a significant contribution to Chinese society by making donations, and that this was a stepping stone for him to move into a different industry. I don't know the truth about the donation, but Country Garden is in a crisis of default, so it is clear that Country Garden is not doing well. It is still unknown what kind of impact the large contribution to the charitable foundation will have in the future. This time, I talked about the donation to the disaster area in Hubei province and the big donation of the Country Garden. However, the story about the Country Garden is a donation to a public interest group, but it is a donation to an organization managed by the family, so it is not purely for social contribution. Currently in Japan, I don't think there are many people who pay attention to country gardens. In the future, there is a high possibility that it will receive attention like Evergrande Group. That's all for now. See you next time.